Humans aren't born out of laying around on their asses. We've been born out of conquering a world. We're the dominant species. We built all this. We're powerful, and we're beautiful, and we're ready to build the next level of civilization in God's plan. But you must stop bowing to those who want to make you a victim. You must become the victor. If you love God and you want to build a pro-human future, then you are an enemy of the New World Order and Satanism. They want us shut down because we have the Spirit. I'm jacked into the source. I know the secret, and I want to see you empowered. But you have to believe in yourself first. This is the truth, and everyone knows it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it appears that once again the West is coming for anime, and Japanese artists are being forced to censor their manga and their anime by the West. Now, I'm hoping that Donald Trump will help make anime great again, that one of the things that he can accomplish is to destroy the censorship complex that we've seen arise pretty much over the last 10 years. Now, I think that Donald Trump in his second term is going to be absolutely wild. I can't wait to see what he does. But yeah, censorship has gotten pretty bad. And a lot of times you'll have like payment processors or other studios even in the West come out with all of their employees saying, how dare you do this? You can't show this. You can't show this. I hope that Trump comes out and just obliterates these studios and these people from orbit. It needs to be set as an example that censorship is not to be tolerated. Not to be tolerated. And understand, there's a lot of material that I don't like. There's a lot of material that I don't like, but it shouldn't be censored. If there's an audience that wants to watch it, they should be allowed to do so. By the way, most of the anime has really weird themes and stuff like that, but there's obviously an audience for it. You know? And they're not hurting anyone. They're a bunch of weebs that just want to watch and enjoy this and go to an anime convention. By the way, let me give you guys a piece of advice. If you want to win over a girl in an anime convention, make sure you wear your dirtiest clothes and don't shower for about a week before. Maybe a month. That's the key to winning a girl in an anime convention. Anyway, the West is forcing Japan to censor all anime. That is unacceptable. I find that to be ridiculous. The people that are advocating this and pushing this really should be exposed and repudiated. It's the same sort of people that we see localizing anime and making it worse.
Just a little bit. I'm glad more people are bringing it up now. Thank fucking God people are actually bringing this up.
Yeah, I am more than happy to bring this up and to talk about this because I do think it's an issue. I do think it needs to be discussed, and these people do need to be exposed.
Japan is being forced to censor anime and manga.
Japan is being forced to censor manga and anime? It's time for the latest news out of Japan. If you were to ask a dedicated fan of anime and manga, what is a word worse than death?
Shower.
They'd give you a quick and
Employment.
simple answer. Censor.
Employment. That's a bad answer, Asman. Most of these people are employed, which is why they can drop hundreds of dollars on an anime figure. No. Most of these people work and have jobs. No, their biggest fear is a shower and a deodorant. If you've ever been to one of these conventions, you know what I'm talking about.
Censorship. Adult content is a huge part of Japanese entertainment.
Yeah, okay, censorship, sure.
culture, especially when it comes down to drawn or animated media like anime and manga. Whether it comes in the form of extreme violence, mild and comedic displays of nudity, or full-blown R-rated scenery, adult content is something that's naturally ingrained into Japanese media. But unfortunately, not every country which anime and manga are distributed to supports these spicy additions. And as such, there have been several cases where anime and manga have been censored to suit the ideologies of several countries.
I actually don't have a problem with countries that want to make laws against certain things, because like if you want to sell a product in a country, your product has to follow that country's laws, right? Like that's just how it is. The problem is whenever private companies are trying to make the rules themselves.
I think there's an element of truth to that, but I also, as somebody who is in favor of the arts, I also take a stand that I don't think that companies, shouldn't be allowed to just immediately enforce this sort of stuff on other companies. So, for example, I am vehemently against a Western company localizing an anime or localizing a manga and having the characters say something different than the original creation from the author in Japan. However, if that author in Japan were to make an anime and make a manga that was reflective of the West, there's nothing you can do, but I would definitely discourage that as well. Now, what you're seeing on screen here, I think that sort of anime, like what we saw with 4Kids and stuff, I just think that's pathetic. Let it be what it is. You know, unless it's something egregious, and you know, there are certain things that I really don't like. I'll give you an example. Many, many, many years ago, I was looking on Netflix for something to watch. And I just got done watching Vampire Hunter D. And they recommended a show. I didn't watch Vampire Hunter D on Netflix. I watched it on like DVD. And they recommended a show on Netflix called Dance in the Vampire Bund. Never heard of it, but I'm like, oh, vampire stuff. One of the greatest regrets of my life was watching that show. Because I tried to keep giving it a chance because the animation was good. But essentially the main character, the main girl, was a vampire, so she's like a couple thousand years old or whatever. But she looked like a child, and they kept showing her naked. And like over and over. And I'm like, the fuck are you trying to get me raided by the FBI? It was very uncomfortable. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe is there like something where she's gonna transform into some like adult figure? No, not really. They really wanted to emphasize that there was a naked kid, and my thing was, fuck this, I'm out. That was gross. And I looked it up and found out that, apparently Netflix didn't give a shit. But then they did eventually get rid of it, so who the hell knows? But this sort of stuff, where the characters are obviously adults, I don't care. I really, really don't care. Let the spirit of the artist be what is shown through, not what 4Kids dubs or other dubs think is appropriate.
Example, the Mitsuri bat scene in Demon Slayer where her bare back and chest were shown was censored in the Chinese version, as she was seen wearing a towel in that scene. Fans didn't pay much mind to it and instead found some of these cases funny, such as when the Malaysian version of Attack on Titan had the Titans, which were normally bare-skinned, wearing tight pants.
That is weird, bro. Like, why is he wearing swim trunks? What the fuck?
Huh.
What is this? So, what the hell?
Little did they know that things would eventually blow up in an aggravating way.
Uh-oh.
During the final days of October, the United Nations pitched the idea of censoring or even banning anime and manga, based on the idea that these forms of media were promoting gender stereotypes and violence.
I love how the idea of promoting gender stereotypes is bad. Like,
I mean, Trump's got a lot of work to do. Okay, I'm just gonna say Trump has a lot of work to do to help sort the world out. I mean, we're gonna need a long time to undo the damage that the left has caused the entire world.
It's such a stupid premise. It's coming to Japan. Yeah, it's just so yeah. So because there's nothing wrong with having a gender. Of course, there's a stereotype for genders because people are different.
Yeah.
Duh.
Towards women and children. Many fans voiced their discomfort with that development, claiming it was wrong on so many different levels.
Oh, yeah.
But things still took a turn for the worse, because recently it was discovered that Western credit card companies such as Visa and MasterCard are now dissociating themselves from anime and manga sites in an
This is something that is not unique to anime and manga, and credit processing companies have done this with a lot of things previously. They've done it with certain websites they didn't like, and they've also done it with other adult content that they have arbitrarily decided to not do business with. So the reason why this is bad is because all of these companies are acting like a cartel.
Yeah. So, he's absolutely right. And I think that the punishment for this should be so severe that it should send a message to every payment processor that you don't get to arbitrarily choose who you take payment from. That you have to be impartial in most every case. Now, obviously, if somebody is clearly violating the law, like, for example, if somebody is trying to pay for, a child, they came across the border, these traffickers and stuff. Obviously, it's incumbent upon the processor to step in. But I think that if you are Visa or MasterCard or Discover or you're any one of these processors and you do this and you go out there and you say, well, we don't like Alex Jones, so we're not going to allow you to take payment on Alex Jones' website. That company should face a fine and sanction so severe that it sends shockwaves throughout the world. I think that Donald Trump should say, basically, if you violate the Constitution of the United States as a company, if you are depriving people of their right of free expression and free speech, if you are doing that, then you are going to face a financial penalty that the world has never seen before. It should be devastating. These companies should be crawling over themselves to apologize and to basically get back to simply being a payment processor. Nobody asked the freaks who work at Visa or MasterCard to be moral arbiters of anything. Nobody asked them. Your job is to take the money and shut the fuck up. That's what your job is.
I don't think that anybody has a problem with one company not wanting to serve a certain type of business, but when every single company works in unison to not serve that business, to effectively leave them out of the global market, that is collusion, it is corruption, and it is a cartel.
True.
And so that's really what the problem is.
Attempt to force them to censor their content. Ken Akamatsu, the creator of Love Hina, was unfortunately a victim of this, as his manga site Manga Z was forced to shut down due to these credit card companies pulling away.
That's
In
right.
his official statement on Twitter, he said, the website Manga Library Z...
Same with weed stores, yeah. And I don't want you guys to think that this is something that's unique to like some sort of like social political thing. They do this with basic porn. They do it with drugs. They do it with weed. I mean, you can argue whether that's a drug or not. I don't want to get into that. But like either way, they've done this with a lot of other instances before. I wonder who's in these banking institutions to leave money on the table for this. I'm not sure why they're doing it. I have no idea. It doesn't really matter why they're doing it.
Formerly known as J. Comey, which I founded 14 years ago, had decided to cease operations on November 26th. Although I have already stepped down from management, I'm writing this announcement on behalf of the team. About Manga Library Z. Manga Library Z is an ad-supported platform that provides out-of-print manga as free digital content, generating ad revenue to compensate creators. Server and operational costs were mainly covered by fees from premium members. Reasons for the shutdown. The immediate cause of the suspension is that our payment processor has notified us that they are terminating all payment services beyond credit card payments, which includes other methods. Suddenly, all credit card providers, including JCB, became unusable, and other payment...
That's the problem. That right there is the issue. It's not that some of them do it, it's that all of them do it.
Yeah.
This is a huge issue. And it's a form of soft power that these companies have that is kind of invisible to a lot of people.
Yep.
That should be illegal. I would argue that it already is. I bet it probably already is illegal.
That's true.
For adult sites, usually payment processors just apply higher processing rates instead of just outright stopping service. Well, I think that also should be illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are we talking about? So, like, all the payment processors, they're like saying, well, we're going to charge you extra for, like, some bullshit reason. Why do that? To make more money. Because they're squeezing them for money.
Yeah.
It's straight up mafia tactics. I don't even see how this is a conversation.
Options, except for BidCash, were also rendered non-functional. On top of that, even payments for past months were withheld, so we were unable to cover server costs due to the lack of incoming premium member fees. After careful consideration, the Manga Library Z team determined that running the site solely on BitCash revenue was unsustainable. Even if a new payment processor was found, similar issues could arise again, and selectively removing content to stay operational was undesirable.
So there's, and you see how this happens, right? You see how this company is using their power as a processor to exercise censor.
And this is sort of the injustice and unfairness that people want Trump to come in and sort of fix. People want justice. They don't like when these companies act in this way. They want retribution. They want the companies that did this, the monopolies, to be hurt. And by hurt, I mean financially. They want them to be hit so hard in the finances that they don't ever do something like this again. That they don't think that they are above the law, that they can just come out like a mafia, like a cartel, and just take away people's livelihood or take away what they've been working on for years. Ken Akamatsu is an established, notorious, infamous manga writer. He wrote Love Hina, amongst a bunch of other romantic, comedy manga. So it is absolutely inconceivable that you could take something that he created and put it on this taboo list because you don't like it. No, it's ridiculous.
Editorial powers over this website. They are using this as an editorial tool to do this.
We reached the decision to suspend the site. We apologize for the suddenness of the situation and for yielding to the control of the payment provider, which left us with little time to respond.
I really hope this won't happen. I really hope that, someone around Trump, like whether it's Elon Musk or somebody.
No, if it's anyone, it'll be Barron. Barron Trump has his finger on the pulse. Asmund, Barron Trump watches Aiden Ross.
Finds out about this so they can start holding these companies accountable. Because this will happen to people that go against the political grain as well. It absolutely will, because there's no reason for it not to go that way.
It already has. It already has. Nick Fuentes. Yeah, absolutely. Nick Fuentes has talked about this. Now, again, I'm no fan of Nick Fuentes, but he's talked about the fact that he's tried to sell merch. He's tried to sell, hats and other things, and the payment processors refuse to do business with him. I think that's unacceptable. If you're selling a product and there are people that want to pay for it, your job should be as the middleman. I don't want to hear about your political views. I don't want to hear about anything. You take the money and you give it to the other guy. You're a middleman. That's all you are. But they've already done it with Nick Fuentes.
What? Speedrunning Dystopian Corporate Nightmare? No, it's actually been going on. JD Vance is young enough to watch anime, right? Yeah, for sure. Somebody needs to make sure that they fucking know about this. Because this is a huge issue.
Yeah, contact Aiden Ross.
It'll be Charles Hickinson. Says working on DC yesterday. He'll advise him. I hope so. They did it to Alex Jones. They've done it to other people as well, too.
However, through this experience, we have gained insights on the grounds for declaring payment service suspensions, the severity and duration of associated penalties, and potential countermeasures. In the past, for example, Love Hina was banned and later reinstated in Apple's ebook app, a situation that became a valuable case in protecting freedom of expression.
Yeah.
We continue to refer to these kinds of special cases in discussions about protecting free expression. Recently,
and the reason why it's really important is that once a company reaches a certain market share in a product market, like for example, like Windows, or for example, like how many of you guys have one company that you're paying your internet to, or you're paying your power to, or your water service to? A lot of you guys probably have that, your cell phone. Yeah, maybe there's only one in the area. Well, most of the time, monopolies like that can exist, but they need to be regulated and held accountable by the government.
True. That's very true. However, for me, here where I live, I do have two forms of internet. Thanks to Elon Musk. I do have Starlink, and so I also do have the local provider. So yeah, Elon Musk has provided an opportunity that, if the local, internet provider up here decided that they were going to be, funny and try to, take down my internet for whatever reason, I have Starlink. And what an amazing thing. And that's, I think, ultimately what is going to change, is that there needs to be more competition, and these companies acting in unison. This needs to be against the law if it isn't already. And it needs to be made abundantly clear to these companies that the punishment for not falling in line is going to be severe.
So the problem isn't necessarily that there's a monopoly. Monopolies actually exist, but they are counterbalanced with like a degree of accountability from the government. Yeah. And when you remove that accountability, like what this has done, you have a huge, huge, huge problem.
He's right.
That's where the issue is. It's that these people are operating and they're completely controlling a market space that is effectively a gatekeeper to business.
Yep.
So they can exercise subjective decision-making.
Mm-hmm.
Stricter conditions and penalties have emerged from payment service providers, posing a growing threat to not only ebooks, but to the Japanese content industry as a whole. We intend to develop more accurate countermeasures as a platform that has been directly affected. We appreciate your support in this endeavor. So, there's a lot to unpack in this message, but the main point is that his manga site is being forced to shut down based on their inability to make money. And the cause of that is, of course, the fact that the Western credit card companies they were aligned with chose to step away from them. This is a very terrible situation, and anime fans are absolutely furious about this incident.
Here's the problem, is that some people might be like, oh, I don't like anime, this is good.
No.
Companies will do this collectively and selectively whenever they want.
Yeah.
Isn't the company hosting manga online illegally? Boycotting a company doing illegal stuff is fine, isn't it? I don't know. I'd have to look and see what it is. Yeah, I need a neutral international payment method that isn't crypto. Yeah, I think so too. Then find a different payment method. Well, here's the problem, is that when all of the major competitors inside of a market space all behave like a cartel and exercise unilateral control and enforce a certain type of thing, we already have a lot of antitrust laws, and we already have things to prevent this from happening. And the reason why is because in the past we didn't have those things, something bad happened, and now these things got added because of the bad thing that happened. So crypto is how you get around that? That's the solution? I don't think crypto is the solution. I don't think that you can have anonymous transactions where people don't have complete security of their funds.
Right.
I understand that people think crypto is really good, and I think that crypto, like, you guys might not know this, I use crypto every day. I do. I use crypto all the time. So I'm not a crypto hater, but I don't think that this should be like the norm. I think, honestly, these companies need to just follow the law and not act like cartels.
True.
It's very simple, actually.
Said, bad take from US-based card companies. Trying to force an entire country to censor a major part of their cultural identity will just force Japan to seek a possible home-sourced card company, which will lead to other non-Japanese sites to utilize them as well to avoid censorship.
Exactly.
What's worse is that the censorship they're trying to influence into effect isn't the normal one we're familiar with, where only the versions of anime and manga for specific countries are altered.
Yeah.
What these people want is for these products to be censored right at the source, meaning even the original versions of anime and manga being distributed in Japan would be
That's the real problem. Because, like, I think that, like, if the Chinese government says, you know, you have to censor this if you want to sell it in our country, I think that's totally fair. I do, because it's a country, no company should be able to supersede a country's laws. It's not even a question.
Yeah.
It's like the terms of service or the value or the mission statement of this company supersedes the law of that country. It's ridiculous. Of course that's not true. It's like banning art. Yeah.
heavily censored. This is a huge slap in the face, not only to the whole freedom of expression privilege for creators, but also Japanese culture in general. These card companies have done this before with platforms like Pixiv and DL sites, removing themselves from those sites until certain content which they deem is inappropriate is removed.
Yeah, see, that's the problem. Like, what gives them the right to exercise editorial control over the content that's on there? Censorship is stupid, and yeah, I think it's very stupid.
Fans are even trying to make light of the situation by claiming that the world is now similar to Shimoneta, an anime world where all forms of adult things were banned. Credit card companies actually hold a lot of power because they monopolize the use of online and card-based transactions. So basically, if you wish to make a payment to any sites, including anime and manga sites, it most often has to go through them, which is why a situation like this, where they pull away from a company, would mean that the company has no way of making any money. And thus, the company is forced to shut down, all based on an unfair imposition of Western ideologies on Japanese media.
See, here's the thing, is that it actually doesn't have anything to do with ideologies at all. What it has to do is these companies acting collectively to move a certain company out of the space. Like, whether it's censoring for, any reason, whether it's denying service for any reason, when all of the companies unilaterally move in one direction, they are behaving like they are colluding and like a cartel. That's the reason. That's the problem. It doesn't matter, like, oh yeah, boobs and like, Demon Slayer. Nobody gives a shit about that. That's not the point. The point is the action in itself is fundamentally bad. It's corporation mafia. It is. Like a trust? Yeah. Well, we have a lot of antitrust laws for things like this. Adult content equals more fraud, equals more chargebacks, equals more risk. Who decided that?
Who decided that?
Who decided that? Did they tell you that?
Fans are going as far as saying that Japan should stop distributing anime and manga to the West entirely, since they're the ones always pushing for censorship. Japan needs to give a big middle finger to the West and completely disconnect from it.
I don't think that'll happen.
These were the words of a fan who was rightfully annoyed by the situation.
Yeah.
Some are calling out influential figures like Elon Musk to do something about the situation, given the...
I think that he understands the problem because he was instrumental in making PayPal, so he probably gets this.
Fact that he openly admitted to being a huge fan of anime and gaming.
Sure.
Fans think that Musk will eventually start his own card companies and payment platforms that would eventually crush the ones currently monopolizing the business. Some others feel that crypto should become the premier means of payments, putting the current card companies out of business.
There's not enough accountability with crypto. It's not going to work.
And they believe the outcome of the recently concluded US elections could make that dream a reality. Interestingly, apparently, Brazil used a system called Pix that bypasses cards and bank limitations. If more countries copied this method, those payment processing holders would have zero power across the globe and will be forced to compete with quality of service
Imagine
instead.
that.
Well, these proposed solutions do seem appealing, but it would take a lot of different things to come into place for them to actually work out. Taking notice of this, fans have decided to focus on looking for ways to fight back and punish the card companies directly. Many have suggested starting a war with America or even orchestrating a cyber attack.
Okay, yeah, anime fans talking about starting a fucking war. Okay, yeah, what a fucking surprise there. Pixels goated, yeah.
Against these card companies.
Okay.
This is why I want the entire Western entertainment industry gone, wiped clean from the world.
Okay,
Or
I can't
the
agree with
words
that.
of a fan who needs to be
Yeah.
convinced that the Western entertainment industry is no sandcastle that could easily be kicked down. This is maybe a little extreme. Many
Well, it's getting
believe that
eroded.
the best course of action would be to avoid buying from them entirely, and so many fans have resolved to only using pirate sites for consuming
Yep.
anime and manga, instead of paying through these companies. Depending on how things play out, this incident could cause a ripple that would affect Japanese culture and how anime is created. For now, we can only hope things go in favor of Japan and the rest of the anime manga fandom.
Well, it's not about going in favor of Japan or not. It's about going in favor of free expression and free speech without having a unelected cabal of companies acting as a cartel that are behaving as censors for that speech and expression. That's obviously a bad thing. Like, there's no universe where it's not a bad thing.
In other news, Vinland Saga is ending soon?
All right. So, yeah, I think that is unacceptable. These card companies need to be held to account. I mean, it's so unfathomable. Ken Akamatsu has done so much for the fight against censorship. He's an incredibly based individual. Yeah, it's just disappointing. That's all you can really say. It's disappointing. You see these people act in this way, and yeah, you do want some kind of retribution. My thing is, I do hope somebody gets it to Trump. Maybe Barron. Who knows? Maybe Barron watches my channel. If he watches Aiden Ross. But yeah, I want to see these companies held to account so that there is a bit of fairness and they realize that they don't have the power to which they think they do. It'd be nice. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.